WSK Master Series is back on track to compete in the second round of the season on the traditional and spectacular track of SARNO, known worldwide as Naples International Track. The landscape from the track is breathtaking, featuring Mount Vesuvio in the background and delicately drawn in one of the most beautiful sceneries of the whole world. The 1700 meters of the SARNO track are among the most famous in the world of karts, both local, national and international, thanks to the speed and skill requirements. Among the events hosted on the track are the trials for the World Championship, which will be organized by the WSK promotion on account of CIK FIA the next 6th of October. For these and many other reasons, the second round of the WSK Master Series has registered an incredible amount of drivers, especially among those who aim at having noticeable results in the World Championship. Among the drivers who partook the free trials, we can find Michael Schumacher, an old acquaintance of the WSK both in his role as a caretaking father to Mick and as a driver, where his enviable physical form is kept in shape by his Tony kart. Together with the former German champion, we were also able to spot the Spanish Alguersuari, driving an Intrepid. Jamie is striving to keep his shape up while he waits for his chance to go back to the Formula 1 series. Going back to the second event of the Master Series, the first match in the La Conca track had shaped up a precise profile of the suitors to the 2013 title. In the Mini 60, the Spanish Eliseo Martinez had kept up the hopes and forecasts of those who had pointed at him as the most likely driver to earn the title. Nonetheless, the Indian Kush Maini has kept his ground and closed the gap in the rankings to only 5 points away. These two drivers won't be alone in the chase for victory. Together with them, a handful of opponents are ready to exploit each one of their weaknesses and flaws. The Mini 60 rankings are compact and balanced. On the other hand, the KF Junior Series has some pretty convincing argument to keep one glued to its seat. One of these arguments is called Alessio Lorandi, leader of the rankings after the first event. Behind him, the English Lando Norris, 15 points behind, the very same driver who is dominating the rankings of the Euro Series. We will keep an eye on their duel, without forgetting there are at least 10 different suitors to victory among the registered 80s in the category, comprising the young Mick Birch, Michael Schumacher's son. Both pre-final and final of the KF Series will be adrenaline-packed. Lots of drivers are aiming at the championship, but many of them were a disappointment during the first round. On the La Conca track, the French Boccolacci and Converse had triumphed, earning positions 1 and 2 of the rankings. But among his opponents, we can list some skilled pilots such as Lance Stroll, Tom Joyner, Ben Barnicoat, Romanov or Lavelli. All in all, drivers who have not lived up to the expectations of round 1. And finally the KZ, the category where the veterans of the karting are marshaled. In the La Conca event, Max Verstappen was the best performing pilot. The Dutch was able to climb the ranking and place himself at the top of the food chain. After a 2012 season where his weapons had given the impression of a certain dullness, in contrast with his beautiful first two seasons, during 2013, the son of the F1 driver Jos Verstappen has gone back to his former splendor. Now it's his opponents who will have to pick up the challenge. Among them Bas Lammers, Charles Leclerc, Paolo De Conto, Rick Dresen and Marco Ardigò. Max Verstappen is one of the drivers of the WSK who could race on a single-seater during the 2014 season. Maybe he will begin with the Formula 3 series in the newborn European League, which features 3 races on the Monza circuit and the presence of 2 pilots who spawned from the WSK series and have attained immediate glory. The winner of the first round, Raffaele Marcello, and the performing rookie Antonio Giovinazzi, who talks of his past in WSK.
Sì, è partito tutto dai kart, con la Top Kart. Lì mi hanno dato la prima opportunità di partecipare al VSK e è andato tutto bene, vincendo la VSK Master nel 2010 e poi esordire nel 2011 con la PCR. L'anno con la PCR è stato molto bello e molto pieno di risultati, con la vincita della VSK Master, terzo al mondiale. E grazie a questi bei risultati mi hanno dato l'opportunità di farmi fare il salto superiore con il motorsport, grazie al sponsor KFC indonesiano, che però ha portato la mia carriera, diciamo, l'anno scorso fuori dall'Europa, in Asia, facendo il campionato Formula Pilota China, che è andato molto bene, vincendolo, quindi un bellissimo esordio nel motorsport, e poi dandomi anche l'opportunità di partecipare l'anno scorso qui a Monza con la Formula Abarth europea. È andato benissimo, è stato un weekend che non dimenticherò sicuramente mai, vincendo 2 gare su 3. Quest'anno è stato sì un passo molto importante, passando dalla Formula Abarth al Formula 3 europeo. Cercherò in quest'inverno, ho cercato di preparare questo campionato nel migliore dei modi, con l'allenamento e tutto. I risultati, diciamo, che stanno venendo, speriamo che domenica vada nel meglio. Sì, sicuramente non mi poteva andare meglio come prima prova qui a Monza, però diciamo che di questo campionato so solo questa pista, quindi il Jolly me lo sto giocando subito in prima gara, però cercherò di fare bene questa e anche il resto del campionato. Diciamo sì, il VSK come il kart è sicuramente un insegnamento di vita, perché alla fine, come gli altri ragazzi magari il sabato vanno in discoteca a bere così, invece noi eravamo lì in pista a svolgere la cosa che ci piace di più, il kart con il VSK. Quindi sicuramente sia un insegnamento di pilota che anche di vita.
After 2 days of free trials, the stopwatches are rewound and the time trials can begin, officially starting the second event of the WSK Master Series. The first on the grid are the young pilots of the Mini 60 category, among which Giuseppe Fusco is able to attain the pole position. The local driver has exploited his knowledge of the track and has been able to overcome the Malaysian Abdul Muiz by only 86 milliseconds. The KF Junior drivers raced through the Superpole, who crowned Lando Norris as the fastest, leaving the Russians Schwarzman and Sitnikov behind him. Another Superpole was the KF one, where the French Boccolacci was able to snatch the pole position on his energy, closing the race just 51 milliseconds in front of the Polish Karol Bas. Among the best drivers, we can find the Croatian Kodrik and the British Callum Ilott, whose grit will test their opponent's skills. In the KZ, the category reserved to the veterans of the international panorama, we can find the Dutch Bas Lammers, whose pole position was recorded 34 milliseconds ahead of the English Ben Hanley. The long-awaited Max Verstappen is only third, 122 milliseconds behind the pole position time. The 11th position of Jaime Alguersuari is somehow stunning. He will have to be extremely focused during the qualification bouts. These bouts for the Mini 60 saw Leonardo Marsiglia winning 2 of the 3 rounds. The 2 pilots on Tony Kart, Makar Mizovic and Lind Rasmus, also record noteworthy performances. It is somehow surprising, instead, seeing Eliseo Martinez having a hard time after the victory of the first round. In the KF Junior, the Italian Alessio Lorandi was able to win by the skin of his teeth, defeating Lando Norris after that both of them had won 3 rounds out of 4. Alessio was able to snatch a better deal due to his lower amount of penalties. The Russian Robert Schwarzman's performance was also noteworthy. In the KF series, Boccolacci, after having won the Super Pole, has decided to shout his message loud and clear by winning all of the 3 qual rounds in a row. The only barrier between him and Infinite is made of 2 Polish drivers, Karol Baz from Tony Kart and Karol Dabski, running for the Praga team. The KZ pilots went through 2 different bouts of qualifications, where no one was a real match for the British Benjamin Hanley. Together with the Art Grand Prix driver, the Tony Kart champion Marco Ardigo and official driver for Virel, Paolo De Conto, have also raced with distinction. The true surprise is the noticeable underperformance of Max Verstappen, protagonist of the first round. In fact, the Dutch driver only placed 7th during the first bout, and the young pilot is not able to finish the second race, ending up 32nd. His comeback in the finals will have to be legendary if he wants to keep his place in the ranking. Saturday wins off while the first final of the KZ takes place. Benjamin Hanley is starting from the pole position, flanked by the Tony Kart of Marco Ardigo. Behind them, Paolo De Conto and Rick Dresen, and they are ready to set the asphalt on fire. When the lights turn off, the race explodes immediately. Ardigo is somehow capable of overtaking Hanley during the first turn, while De Conto's Birel and Dresen's Tony Kart are immediately behind. The skirmish between Ardigo and Hanley is short-lived though, as De Conto overtakes both of them and snatches up a red-hot first position. In the back alleys of the race, in the meantime, Max Verstappen steadily munches through the opponents and moves from the 18th position to a 10th place. Everyone thought he would be easily capable of improving further his position, but truth is, the Dutch had a very hard time in keeping his 10th place safe. In the meantime, De Conto is leading the dances and flooring the accelerator, being thus capable of improving the gap with his opponents Ardigo and Hanley to 0.6 of a second. Three laps to go and Ardigo is able to catch up on De Conto, de facto reopening the hostilities for the first place. Nonetheless, during the last lap, Ardigo and Hanley collide. None can thus hamper De Conto, who ends up first, while the lucky Monegasque Charles Leclerc ends up second, ahead of the Dutchman Jory Pex. Sunday is a day dedicated to both pre-finals and finals. Everyone is tense, but some are more under pressure than others, while their claim to the champion of the series is at stake. The first pilots on the circuit are from the KF Junior Series. They will have to be divided into two pre-finals due to the massive registrations for this international event. Pre-final A will display a series of Italian drivers who will revolve around the duel between Alessio Lorandi and Leonardo Pulcini. Lorandi starts from the lead, but Pulcini will be able to conquer the first position. The duel between the young pilots is fair and exciting, both of them driving Tony karts and both of them young and willful. The duel goes on for 7 of the 12 laps, during which Lorandi is able to slither back into first position during the 5th lap. Behind them, ordered like a row of soldier ants, the Russian Robert Schwartzman and the Finnish Niko Kari. The challenge for victory ends abruptly when Lorandi is able to open a gap of 7/10 on Pulcini, second, and Schwartzman, third. Pre-final B of the KF Junior sees the English Lando Norris in pole position. Position which he will be able to maintain also when the engines start roaring up until the 3rd lap, when the besieging Canadian Parker Thompson is able to overtake him. The Canadian himself is though passed by the Russian Nikita Sitnikov during the 5th lap, and in his wake of superheated asphalt, the Dutch Martin van Leuven is able to pursue him and snatch the control of the race from him. At this point, chaos settles down and positions crystallize, while Van Leuven wins his first pre-final, just ahead of 2 Russians, Sitnikov and Mazepin. When the KF Junior pre-finals are done, the baby drivers of the Mini 60 can be unleashed upon the circuit. The pre-final, 6 laps long, was entertaining and fun to watch. The Swedish Lind Rasmus is able to stun everyone at the start line by gaining first position from the 2nd row. But the long-range harpoon of Leonardo Marsiglia hooks him up and reels him in, while the Romanian Makar Nidzevic and the Indian Kushmaini are right behind. During the 2nd lap, Marsiglia is able to gain the first position with an expected sweep. But the Comer pilot follows the same destiny of his opponent when he is overtaken by both the Swedish Lind and the Spanish Martinez. The race approaches the end with a compact leading group. During the last lap, Marsiglia plays all his aces up his sleeve. He is thus able to slip in front of Martinez, who ends up 5th, and of Lind, winning the race by only 1/10 of a second on the Swedish and 2 on the Indian Maini. The last program pre-final is the KF1. The series is packed with suitors to the title, but only one seems to fill in the shoes right now, the Croatian Martin Kodrick. The Ricky Flynn Motorsport driver races aggressively by earning the first position immediately after starting from the 2nd row. Once in the lead, Kodrick made his own rules and forgot anyone else's presence on the track. Some of the suitors to the final victory had therefore to make do with the other places on the podium. Carol Bass, for example, who came in 2nd, but with over 2 seconds from the first position. The French Boccolacci had to be happy with a 3rd place and a 4 seconds hiatus from the Croatian. Alessio Guazzaroni is the best among the Italians, being capable of closing the race as 5th, before Matteo Viganò. Eventually, Kodrick wins the pre-final and the right to start the final from the pole. Baz will be 2nd, Boccolacci 3rd from the 2nd row. Before going on to the finals, let us refresh the 2 qualification rounds for the 2nd KZ final. In the first, the Conto was able to triumph with a final dash in the Dutch Jury Packs. The initial phases of the race were characterized by a multi-contact which opened a rift between the duelers and the other drivers, such as Ardigo, Campioneschi, Dresen, Alguersuari and Verstappen. During the second qualification, Joe Pax took his vengeance on the contour, winning by 0.7 seconds on the Italian driver. Before we switch to the finals, let us see what had happened on the La Conca track during the first appointment of the Masters Series. The Mini 60 is the first category to compete for the title of event champion. The Italian Marsiglia is in the lead, while the Swedish Rasmus is waiting for a chance to get his prize. The Indian Kush Maini and the Romanian Makar Medzevic will start from row 2. The Swedish will be able to rob Marsiglia of his first position when the race starts, leaving behind Kush, Martinez, Marsiglia and Medzevic. No one in the leading group is able to outdistance the others, and the group proceeds compact towards the finish line. Maini conquers the first place during the second lap, just to be overtaken by Rasmus a lap later. The third position is contended between Marsiglia and Martinez. The two drivers end up colliding pretty violently, and Martinez will end up losing several positions for this, while Marsiglia will be given a 10 seconds penalty on his final time. No winner is decided till the last lap, where the pilots get into position to bet all the racing weekend on this final mad dash. 7 pilots in 0.7 seconds at the beginning of the last lap. It is in this madhouse of speed and prowess that Lind is able to outdistance Maini by 0.3 of a second, and Giuseppe Fusco ends up third. The winners rejoice on the podium, while the KF Junior drivers get hot and ready on the grid.
Yeah, there was like in the first race, in the final, so I was driving, and in the start I was like 4. So I drive up and I drive around 1, so I was 3rd, and after I drive one more, so I was 2nd, and after I take 1 more, so then after the other guy take me, and then the other guy take me in the same time. So I was 3rd, and after they two crashed in the last corner, so I won.
The first row is occupied by Alessio Lorandi on his Tony kart. At his side, the Dutch Martin van Leeuwen on a Zanardi. In the second row, Pulcini and Sitnikov. During the starting lap, Lorandi's kart does not ignite, and the Italian will start the race from the bottom of the rankings. At the start, Pulcini will dash forward, but the track judges notice an unconformity which is punished by 10 seconds of penalty. Pulcini will continue racing even if he knows that it will be inflicted a harsh blow to his possible victory. Behind him, the Russian Schwarzman, the Finnish Kari, the Canadian Thompson and the Russian Mazepin keep on fighting for the podium. Schwarzman kept the lead for a couple of laps before being overtaken by Mazepin, who is able to nose at Pulcini's heels and to detach the rest of the group. The battle for the second place involves Kari, Schwarzman and Sitnikov, while Lorandi oscillates around the 6th position and has a hard time in tackling higher rankings. Lap after lap, the placements are crystallized into final results, and Mazepin wins his first WSK Master by finishing before Sitnikov and Duruvala. And while Mazepin rejoices for his success, the KF pilots are starting on the grid.
Thank you, it was a good race. I started 6th on outside. I had quite a good pre-final. I finished 3rd. Then it was a good start. In the second corner I overtook some people, so I was on 5th position. Then I had luck, so in the 3rd corner one guy started to overtake another. They crashed, so I went on the 2nd. I caught the 1st, and we were same speed, so I was following him. Then the last lap I tried to overtake him, but it wasn't very successful, and I got luck again, so he got excluded, so I had some luck and it was a good race. Thank you.
Kodrick occupies the pole, flanked by Karol Baz. From the second row, the French Boccolacci and the English Barnico. When the mayhem begins, Baz is able to overcome expectation and bounces in first position, followed by Barnico and Boccolacci. During the second lap, Boccolacci overtakes the English driver and starts smelling Baz's trays like a hound. Their challenge is vivid and fresh for a handful of laps, while Baz is able to fend off the French's assaults. During the 7th lap, Kodrick pops out between Boccolacci's shoulder blades and overtakes him. Baz exploits the duel for second position and is able to outdistance the opponents by more than 1 second, granting him the final victory. The first positions are certainly missing high-standing players in the game of the championship, such as Callum Ilott, 8th, or Lance Stroll, only 10th. And during the final lap, Boccolacci, in one less desperate attempt, is successful into gaining the second position and winning the second step on the podium. Both Baz and Boccolacci show their happiness, the former for the first seasonal victory and the latter for this well-established leadership in the final rankings.
Thank you. I made good start after the final, so I am very happy. I was on the lead all the race. Dorian and Kodri was fast and back of me, so I pushed hard all the time. It was difficult, but I win, so it's perfect. Thank you for Tony Kart for great job.
The last final is the KZ one. Pole position is for Paolo De Conto, flanked by the other winner of the qualification bouts, Jory Pex. Behind them, the Monegasque Leclerc and the Italian Fabian Federer. The race is a fest of magnificence in overtakes and comebacks, where drivers like Ardigo, Verstappen, Camponeschi and Alguersuari are featured. All of them were starting from the bottom of the grid, due to the massive collision who had forced them to retire. Best among them is Hanley, who started out 20th and will finish 4th. In the front lines, in the meantime, the Italian Riccardo Nigro is fighting nails and teeth for the first place. Started out in 5th row, a series of furious overtakes have given him the boost to reach the second position, on the hunt for Leclerc. In the meantime, the Conto slips in the back alleys and Pex slides into third place. During the 12th of the 15 laps, Negro performs the feat, which will grant him victory. He overtakes Leclerc and he is nowhere to be found again. The checker flag finds the Italian driver all cuddled up in his cart to avoid injudicious actions such as the one which has costed him the success during the first final on the La Conca track. On the podium, Negro does not hide his satisfaction, together with Leclerc and Paul Pex, while Verstappen is able to end up in 7th position.
Sinceramente abbiamo cominciato ad andare sempre più forte, abbiamo fatto sempre qualche modifica andare sempre più forte, e solo che non riuscivo a finire una gara, cioè facevo sempre la prima curva, stavo sempre nell'erba, non so perché, e questa era stata la prima gara, la finale, che sono riuscito a fare completa sull'asfalto e sapevo che avevo il passo, l'ho sfruttato dall'inizio fino alla fine e sono riuscito così a vincere la finale.
Here are the rankings for each category. In the Mini 60, Cushpaini occupies the first position with 100 points, followed by Eliseo Martinez at 73 and Lind Erasmus at 70. In the KF Junior, Alessio Lorandi occupies the first position with 133 points, followed by Lando Norris at 79 and Nikita Sitnikov at 73. In the KF, Dorian Boccolacci leads the ranking with 115 points, followed by Karol Baz at 107 and by Martin Kodrick at 62. In KZ, the leader is Max Verstappen with 101 points, followed by Paolo De Conto at 70 and by Riccardo Nigro at 64. Next coming up, the WSK Master will leave for Friuli towards the Precenicco track, close to Udine, while the WSK Euro Series will end in Sarno on the 21st of April to race the third round of the WSK 2013 season.